if I did not say my final message of appreciation. Ladies and gentlemen, please join me in a round of applause and welcome to this podium the architect of today's announcement, LSU's athletic director, Mr. Bird Osborne.
What a great day to be a Tiger. Beautiful day. I want to thank President Roos and our board of supervisors and our governor for their commitment to making sure we got the coach we need. I also want to thank Ms. Julie Carmen and the search committee for the long hours the past couple of weeks making sure we got this done and done the right way for Louisiana. Julie's been my all-star. Is she in the room tonight? She's here. Julie likes to stay in the background. She's very, very important to this process, helping us get Coach Kiffin here. I can honestly tell you, from the moment we determined that a coaching change would be necessary, the first name on everyone's lips was Lane Kiffin. There are a lot of great coaches out there, and we performed due diligence on several other candidates, but the name none of us could shake was Lane. LSU football has a unique place in the history of the game, in the traditions of the SEC, and in the hearts of everyone with any connection to the state of Louisiana. Purple and gold have always represented something special. It represented Death Valley on a Saturday night. It represents some historic offenses and stifling defenses, as well as championships and excellence. That word, excellence, is LSU. Our colors in our city tell anyone in the world that they are watching LSU. As a former player, and as an administrator here for the last nearly 30 years, I can tell you that when the band strikes to uphold that Tiger, there's no better place in the world to be. So when we realized it was time to replace our head football coach, we knew we had to find someone who could get it, who would understand tradition, personality, culture, and who could contribute to both our history and to our future. Immediately, Lane Kiffin became our prime target. He was not only an offensive innovator, energizer, and winner, he was also a program builder, a brilliant recruiter, and most competitive conference in America, and a big enough personality to operate in a state of big personalities. In a program, in a state that challenges some, we believe Lane wouldn't blank. We believe he could thrive. I'm not going to tell you the road for getting him here didn't have some unique challenges, but I will say those challenges came from the right reasons. Lane was running a championship contending team. He loves his players, and he wanted to do the right thing for his family. I admire all of those reasons and made me want him more. We believe that LSU is the place he may be willing to come. We believe it would be a perfect fit for someone like him. We told Lane that LSU is not just a place to come to win games. He has done that already. We told him LSU is a place to come to contend for national championships year in and year out. We promised him the resources to recruit and develop the best players in the country. We promised him a student body and a fan base that demands success. And we promised him a state and a community that would welcome him and his family, and that was eager to become with his leadership legendary. If those sound like big promises, then you don't know how much I love and believe in LSU and in Louisiana. We asked him to believe, too. He showed us he was all in. I can read you his resume, which you probably already know. I can tell you more about his personality, which you're probably familiar with that too. I can tell you he has the presence and energy to make everyone he works with feel a winning attitude. But I know you will find that out soon enough. I can't wait to get down to work with him. Lane, the process to get you here hasn't always been the most predictable, but I believe you will find it to be home. You've been looking for it. Lane, we want to welcome you and your family to LSU, to Baton Rouge, and the state of Louisiana. Go Tigers.
First off, I want to thank my family for all their love and support throughout this process. Layla, Knox, Andrew, Presley, my children, brother Chris that's here with his family. Thank you for all the support through this process. This is not an easy one. I'd also like to thank President Wade Bruce, Athletic Director Burge Osbury, Board of Supervisors Chair Scott Ballard, Athletic Board Chair John Carmouche, and Julie Cromer. I also had a unique great call with Governor Landry, and I could feel his passion and energy in that call for the state of Louisiana and for LSU football. Also, the people that reached out to me through the process, some former great LSU players and very powerful LSU alumni. I'm very honored to be the head coach of LSU. I can sum it up by saying this place is different. And having watched this place for a long time, having been on the other sidelines in this stadium, this place is different. And that's why we're here. There's a lot of work to do with that. But I'm very grateful for the opportunity to lead one of the elite programs in all of sports. Leaving Ole Miss was extremely difficult decision. And in that, we tried every single thing possible to continue to coach the team through the playoffs and continue to coach the players. In the end, that was their decision, and we totally respect that. And appreciate the time and energy that we tried to figure out a plan to do the best thing at the time for those players. The last 6 years of my life have been the best 6 years of my life. And I owe that to all the players, all the assistant coaches, and the people of Oxford. It was amazing. It will forever be a major part of my story. I'm so grateful for those relationships and all of those people that I got to meet. But the opportunity at LSU, as I said before, is just different. Someone very close to me reminded me this week in this decision that LSU is the best job in football. When you take the history, tradition, passion, and the great players in the state of Louisiana, no one can argue that when you're in Tiger Stadium on Saturday night, there is nothing like it. And this place is built for championships with championship expectations. We understand that. But as an elite competitor, that's exactly what you want. And that's why we're here. You know, over the past few weeks, and especially the last few days, trying to figure out this decision. And I really tried to channel my dad. And I thought of when I spoke at his funeral. And when I spoke, it occurred to me as I was writing that speech, I never understood why as a kid we moved so much. And I realized he had moved 17 times. But during that funeral, during that week, when we passed, the amount of people that reached out to me that were either at the funeral, wrote letters, wrote notes to me, found my number, texted me, was amazing. From all the different places that he went, it became apparent to me, and I spoke on that. That happened for a reason. He went to all those different places where he didn't stay one place. He went to all those places so he could connect with all those people, impact all those people, be impacted by all those people at the different places. And so as I thought about that, even with the best 6 years, it became apparent to me what the decision was. My journey has been unique, to say the least. But I believe everything that I've been through has prepared me for this moment at this place right now. I also believe everything happened exactly how it was supposed to happen, when it was supposed to happen. I mean, that'll be clear someday that all of it did. Our program here at LSU will be designed top to bottom to be the #1 destination for elite players in all of America. That's why we're here. Our immediate priority is assembling the best staff in the country and securing top talent. The mission is simple: bring the best players in the country to LSU. And it starts right here in the state of Louisiana. To win big, as you go through this decision and look at different places and all the things involved, to win big, you need everybody pulling in the same direction. And I felt through this process that definitely the leadership here at LSU was all in line and all in place to give us that. I know that we have, with the passion of LSU family and our LSU players, that we have everything to bring championship football back to LSU. It's time for LSU to take its place back as the best program in all of college football. And that's what we're here to do. So thanks for everybody showing up, for believing in me. Let's go to work and go Tigers. Appreciate that. You want to stand up later? Question? Yep. Yeah, great first question. That was, as I referred to, that was excruciating and difficult. And like I said, we tried every possible thing for a long time the other night and into the morning. As you saw, the team meeting announcement get pushed back because we were trying to get that done. And I'm very grateful for the chancellor there and Keith Carter, that they listened. We presented a plan how that could be done and give the players the best chance to win in the playoffs. And at the end of the day, that's their decision. And I respect that. I mean, it's made a good point. That may make sense to everybody outside, why the best thing was to keep us all together for the playoffs. It may make sense to all the national media, why that makes sense to do that. But, like he said, he has to live there. And I totally respect that, and I respect their decision, and so appreciate it.
Laying right up the middle here, Michael Powell, BRZ TV in Baton Rouge. Bert talked about your resume. I guess just why do you feel like you've been successful over the last handful of years in this ever-evolving college football landscape?
Yeah, I think we've been very successful because we've had great players. We've been very successful because we've hired great assistants that fit together. I think that college football has changed a lot over the years. And I think that the thing that we do extremely well is, we don't just think outside the box. We create new box. The way that we do things is not traditional, and just because in the book of coaching, this is how we do it, or we've done that way before. We're always looking for new ideas, trying to figure things out, and that started years ago with the innovative offense and changing the style of offense that we played over the years. Having a unique offense that I don't feel like is anywhere else in America, the system that we have and how it's run. And then with that, from high school and into the portal recruiting and embracing that, embracing the portal and figuring out a way to put the best collection of players together where we were at. And, I think the record shows we did a really good job of that.
Lane down here in front, Corey Diaz with the Daily Advertiser. I'm wondering if there are things that you can share with your conversations with your mentors and whomever else you sought out to make this decision. What were some of the things that they shared with you that sort of helped sway you one way or the other?
Yeah, I think that you know, it was a really difficult decision. And when you're in those difficult decisions and you're torn, very torn, back and forth, and there's multiple options, you know. There are really, you know, 4 different places, you know, that we had to think about in this. And I just talked to them, and, you know, it really was apparent to, I felt like everybody that I talked to outside of the state that I was in, all basically said the same thing, okay? They all said, and you are gonna regret it, if you don't take the shot and you don't go to LSU. It's the best job in America, it's the best resources, and to win it. And it's obviously been done here before by a number of people. And, you know, Pete Carroll, really, he told me, you know, that he always told my dad that he'd look out for me. And so when we were talking, really channeling him out, you know, knowing him for so long, and he said, this is exactly what you do. You tell your wife, go get it, go for it. And, you know, Coach Saban kind of coached in another place in this conference, so I can't really say exactly what he said, but I'll say I think the world of Coach Saban. I respect him, and so there's a reason right here.
On your left, Coach. Shea Dixon with On3. Obviously, you're known as one of the top offensive minds in football, and I think for a long time, people have tied that to the Bryles offense. Over the years, what have you changed, adapted, that you consider now the identity of what your offense is?
Yeah, I think that, you know, we have the most unique offense in the country, and because of learning from so many people along the way, you know, we heard our son Kendall at FAU, and then learned a ton from the Bryles family about offense and that whole system. And then really combine that over what we had done over the years at USC, at different places, at Alabama. And then said, okay, what if we combine these two and take this tempo spread system, but then really still deal with problem plays, problem formations that, remember, I really grew up really under 3 people. My dad, my wife, Lane Kiffin, then Pete Carroll, then Nick Saban. So really, I basically spent the majority of my life with those 3 defensive minds. Over time, always listening to them, what gave them problems. As 3 of the best defensive minds to ever coach this game. I mean, how blessed am I that I got to be around those 3 people. And then think about, okay, combine all that they've said and put this thing together. And so it's been a great offensive run because of that. And, you know, when we get here and talk about individual numbers and stuff like that, but if you research them, you know, I would say, you know, over the last, whatever, since we left Alabama, so that's 9 years, okay, if you take points yardage, that's the #1 offense combined with all of college football.
Hey, Coach, Jacques Dusay, WAP-TV here in Baton Rouge. You mentioned it a little bit. What are your memories of coming here as an opponent, playing in Tiger Stadium, and how do you feel now to have that arena in your corner as the head coach?
Yeah, it feels good to be on that sideline. Been here a number of times, you know, now that you say it, I think about it, I've been down there, and you guys have watched longer than I would say, but you would probably say 2 of the most intense times and feelings in the year. 2 overtimes, one at Alabama here, and then one at Ole Miss here, in the overtime 2 years ago. And wow, man, that feeling on the other sideline, all the way from the warm-ups of those night games, man, it is not, I coached a lot of places, okay, a lot of road games, NFL, college. There is nothing like the feeling you're on the other sideline and the intensity that you feel. It's like a weight that you feel. You know, I talked to head coaches who've been here before, obviously, and they talk about that feeling on the other sideline, like how to feel lifted up by the crowd and the intensity. But when you're on the other sideline, you feel it the other way, especially as you get to crunch time and overtime at night. So I felt that, and I always thought to myself, what if we had that advantage on our side? So if we combine what we do, the way that we coach players, the systems that we run, and now we have that intensity on our side for the opponent to deal with, again, that's how all it came all together to say, and this is where you're supposed to be.
Hey Lane, Glenn West, 24/7 Sports. You mentioned some of the immediate needs you want to kind of address here with the program. Wondering if you could just talk about maybe some of the people you might be bringing with you on this coaching staff offensively, and just your thoughts on the defensive staff that's already in place here.
Yeah, I think that's a really good question. I don't know that I can get into it. There's so many things, but I can, we've been here for 24 hours. So I don't know that all that is figured out. We're still in the process. And it's a challenging spot too, because LSU is still playing in a bowl game too. And so Frank will continue to serve in that role. We spent a lot of time together, the last 24 hours that I've been here, and less than 24 hours. And so I've made the decision that he's going to still stay in that role as the head coach of that team for the bowl game. So there's a lot of complicated moving parts in that, but we'll definitely have that answer for you soon.
Lane, Mike Scarborough at TigerBait.com. Is there anything that surprised you in this process with talking with Virgin the last few weeks or since you've been here? And is there anything specifically that you can share that Nick Saban told you in your phone conversation with him about this job?
Yeah, I just felt, in all respect to the other three programs, I just felt the passion through Verge, and obviously he's in a unique spot as having been here so long, played here, and been part of so many championships, and been around so many championship coaches, and I just felt that passion, and I felt that alignment from everyone, from the president, from the governor, and so it just became apparent, like that alignment of all being there. And other places have good alignment, but it was like the entire state of everybody that I talked to at some point, okay, was aligned that the number one thing in this state is to get LSU football back to the championship where it was at before. That's very unique. Have everyone in the state, okay, on the same page to get the same thing done. And so it's pretty awesome. And again, that's why I went through a really challenging time and a really difficult decision and a great place where we were at, and great support to have to make the decision to leave there, okay, as over the 6 years there. A lot of opportunities to leave, including in this conference, very prominent programs, and never did. And it came down to that at the end of the day. The only one we were leaving for is once we felt this alignment and passion at LSU.
Lane, right down here, Bryce Coon with On Three. You've talked, I guess, this season about how important, I guess, reconnecting with your family has been, and I guess the reported trip down to Baton Rouge a couple of weeks ago, how important was it for your family to feel on board with this? And what were some of those conversations like with over the past 24, 48 hours?
Yeah, as a football coach, it's awesome in so many ways. But it's very challenging when you make decisions versus probably what I would think most of you guys go through. Meaning, you're at this place that you really love, and your family loves it. You've had this amazing 6 years. And these opportunities come, it's like, okay, are you going to come? And you don't really know anything except for the stadium at the places, because that's really all you've ever been, is in the stadium. And then you, your family, your brother's family, and his 4 kids are all going to move there. So I have to make this decision, okay, but I have none of this information, okay, about what the neighborhoods are like, what the people are like, what the schools are like. I have none of it. So, not ideal, but it came down to, well, I'm not going to go as the head coach of a place to go, because even though most people do that, they spend a weekend somewhere in other professions and go to schools and restaurants and get a feel for it, and neighborhoods, and they make decisions. Sometimes, it takes 4 months to relocate and stuff in the real world. And that doesn't happen. You get on a plane and you go. So I just thought it was really important when they offered, to have the family come down without me and get a bill for it. And it was very important because that went a lot into the decision. I don't know that I could have made this. I don't know that I could have made the decision, but certainly could have made it felt good without everybody on board like it was after going to multiple places and coming back and saying, hey, we're all in. We're all in. You go to Baton Rouge, you go to LSU.
By the way, Matt Moscona from ESPN Radio in Baton Rouge. Curious, how much did an NIL plan in this new true third-party NIL era factor into your decision? And what can you share with us about the plan LSU laid out for you?
Yeah, great question. In that, we talk about the 4 places and making the decision, okay? I said through the process, okay, I'm never gonna make a decision on money. And I'm telling you right now, I don't know what my contract is here. That's not very financially responsible, okay? I'm sure it's really good, okay? I don't know what it is, nor did I know at the other places what the numbers were. Because I said in the beginning, I told Jimmy Sexton, don't tell me the numbers, okay? I wanna make a decision that has nothing to do with money for me. Now, tell me the numbers in the plan for what the money is for the players. Because that's everything in that area to me, okay? Not what I make, what they make to understand how can you build this. And if you're gonna make a change and you're gonna move and all these people are gonna move, and you're gonna do all this and go through all that, which is a very challenging, obviously, last 48 hours, in a lot of ways sucked. It's the only way I can describe it. It sucked for a lot of people. And there was no way to possibly do it, in my opinion, any better than we did from a timing standpoint, because it's a bad scheduling system and how it's set up, and eventually, hopefully, it's like the NFL where you can't do that in the season and don't have to make those decisions. But in that, it was very important and very critical. And Verge and his team had a really, really good plan. And even talked to some donors that are part of that plan here to see exactly how does that work. And there's a great plan here. There's a great plan of how we can come together with what we bring and what players around the country want to play for us and play in our systems, and then have that support to be able to do that so that they want to play for us and they get taken care of financially, which obviously nowadays is the world of college football, and it's very important and critical to them, which it should be. And this was the best setup. So, but that definitely played a factor into this. Because I don't care what your systems are, without good players, they don't work. So, I actually asked today about my contract, not the numbers, I still don't know them. I said, hey, just in case I get asked on it. And he said, basically, all 4 were extremely similar, okay, contracts for me. But in the process of figuring out the amount of packages, those were not similar. Those were not the same. And that's a big part of it.
Jared, in the back. Over here, Jared Paul Joseph, WGNO in New Orleans. How have you felt mentally and emotionally from the opposite having to leave Oxford to Blues to landing here to the Cheers? How's that been for you in those aspects?
Yeah, time heals a lot of things. And having gone through this in this conference before, I sure hope that happens. I sure hope that the people there and the fans there, as time goes, can focus on the amazing 6 years, the greatest football run in the history of the school, okay, the greatest regular season ever in the history of the state just happened there. And I really hope they can focus on that. And where we were able, with the support of people there, where we were able to put the program on a national stage that it had never been at before and maintain it there for a number of years. So it was very hard And it was really challenging, and it is, man, it's the passion of the SEC. So I understand that. So I don't get emotional with it yesterday, like so many people get emotional, like that, when it changed like that. Because we spent 6 years there, and that airport scene, Knox and I driving, and people trying to run us off the road, man. And the things they said to us, and then we got here, and we've been here for 6 minutes. And how we love you, coach, you're the best ever. And like, we only been here 6 minutes, we ain't done anything for you yet. But that's the SEC. And I've been around long enough to know that, and it's just the passion of the SEC. And so I'm not upset at those reactions, by fans, by people. And, I think that people get really upset when we leave somewhere because they feel hurt because you're doing a really good job. They ain't going to the airport and driving from all over, okay, to say those things and yell those things, okay, and try to run you off the road if you were doing bad. So, I just look at it as passionate people in the SEC, and it means they really like what we were doing there. And I think because of the way the players played, because of the way the assistant coaches coached, and the performance we put out on the field, okay, is why we ended up in the situation that we're having to decide from all these different places.
Right in the front, Ron Higgins, Freeport Post Journal. You talked with Florida and you talked with LSU. What did Virgil Osborne say to you, maybe the first time you talked to him, that you thought, that's exactly what I want to hear?
I'm going to leave you alone like Coach Team. Like when I hear that, we're going to give you everything to win. I'm going to leave you alone because Coach Team brings championships. So, Verge isn't real long-winded in those meetings as some other people. He gets right to the point. And, I really like that. And so, he sparked my interest from the first time I talked to him.
Lane Cookie Romney from The Advocate. With the signing period starting on Wednesday, what's the structure in place to bring in these recruits, still recruit guys, especially have some flips? Like, what's the structure in place now for the recruiting signing day?
Yeah, so, when it was asked before about the staff and current roster, all that stuff, the number one focus after arriving here and walking the facility last night, which really was awesome. Sorry to just make sure I don't lose your question. But landing here at that airport and then the leadership showing up and the whole board being there, what was, you could feel it right there. So as you probably forget, it was a really, really hard decision. And I was really torn. I went back and forth, didn't sleep very much, trying to figure it out. Time to do that, and it was really hard. And I'm human. You don't like, even though you understand it's the passion. You're with your son and you're driving, and you got to call a cop that so they'll help you. Because you personally know you're leaving the state, and you got to call them because you're driving with your son, and you got to turn around. And people are like screaming at you, kind of running off the road. I don't know what they're going to do. And so that affects you in that airport scene and all the things being said. I understand it. It's the passion, but they're saying that about you, that you thought you did a really good job for 6 years for them. That affects you. Even on the plane down there, I'm kind of like, we made this decision, but God, I really, I'm telling you, I landed last night. I can't remember when it was. Okay, landed about 24 hours ago. When I got that plane, and I saw the board there, and I saw the leadership, and I felt the power of this place. And then we get in the car, and as we're driving out, we notice the fans, like just all of them out there at the airport, and their excitement and their passion. Then the cars drive by as we go into the office, and we go by Tiger Stadium. It's lit up. And you're like, I absolutely made the right decision. And it all went away. We walked in the facility, myself and the coaches, our general manager, like, you walk in and I'm like looking around and I'm like, God, it's like we're in the NFL. Like everything is so amazing in that facility and it's so powerful. And the national championships and the Heisman trophies and the way the whole building is done. You're reminded you are at the elite program in all of college football. Saying that those two coaches just told me and reminded me, and then I was like, actually, we're going by Tiger Stadium. I called one person, called Ed Ogeron. And I said, hey man, all I can do then, this place just makes me want to talk like you right now. I was like, we were in the car and the kids were in there and I was like, and the coaches and like, what are you doing? I'm like, I don't know, I'm like channeling your head right now. I'm feeling good. Like, I rolled down the window and I was like, go Tigers to the fans. And I'm like, so I called Ed, I said, I don't know what's going on, man. I'm feeling you right now. And he's like, coach, you're at the best place in America. So, I feel that. So, as I thought I would do, I have no idea which question. See, that's good planning that I knew that was going to happen.
Yeah, the structure, you guys are gonna have this signing day.
Yes.
With the staff. How much
Yeah.
does it work out?
Okay, so that was number one priority and is the number one priority right now. We're on that. Those February can't go out right now. Yesterday, people could come up to the office. I'm obviously can't name them individually, the recruits, but so that is our number one focus right now, is to sign the best class that we possibly can Wednesday. Also, we have big picture thinking too. So we're not reaching or we're not signing kids because they're from this school or that school or any of that stuff. Okay, we're going to sign the best players that we can on Wednesday. We go to the portal, which I have zero concern about the interest of players with that. Because I know what the interest was of players nationally come play for us where we were just at. And now when we put that with this stadium, with that logo, I mean,
We got time for two more rap and then Ross.
makes me want to go get on the phone right now, but the portal's not open.
Scott Riley, also with the Veterans Advocate. I read where you said you're at a place in your life where you want to live day by day, take things day by day. This move do you see this as a career defining move for yourself?
Yeah, I hope so. Yeah, I definitely do. And I do take day by day and have learned to do a much better job at that as I've gotten older. And, this is really unique. I'm uniquely prepared at 50 years old for this job to have been so many places, done good things, made a lot of mistakes, and made them really early on. Like someone said, you made mistakes on the national stage at an age in your 30s and early 30s that coaches aren't even head coaches yet, let alone they're not on the national stage. So I got to learn from them. I'm 50, this is my 6th head job. And I don't know if anybody's ever done that. So it's not necessarily great in some ways. We're all by choice. But what that does is if you take all that information and you keep it and you collect it and you learn from the good, from the bad, that's experience. Just like an experienced quarterback's a lot better later on. Experienced coaches. And some of those coaches, especially those two I talked to, they would tell you, man, at this age right now, where I am, is when they really figured it all out. I think I may be wrong on this. I bet you that Coach Carroll's probably 50 when he takes USC, and Coach Saban, when he takes Alabama, is 55. So, you figure things out as you go with all those experiences and having multiple head jobs like they had before, and then you become even better.
Ross Nellinger, Lane, when Ole Miss administrators told you Saturday night, kind of finally, that you won't be able to coach the playoff, how much did you seriously consider not taking this job
to stay and coach the playoffs. And the last few days, how much do you think it impacts your legacy, or do you care?
Yeah. Glad you're here, Ross. And everything. So, even though my man Ross was hiding out in a car, following me, which is a true story, I appreciate the effort. And he's like, texting, he's like, I see you going into the AD's office right now. True story. But first I went until Sunday, that's why things kept getting pushed back, that I was told, that we couldn't keep this thing in place and coach the playoffs. So I'd already made the decision at that point and informed them Saturday night, that this is what we were gonna do. And that was a really hard conversation, really hard. And kept trying to work through, okay, all right, yes, there's disappointment in that. How can we do the best, knowing that I'm going to be the head coach of LSU for the future down the road? How could we do the best interest of the players and give the players the best chance to win and make a run at the national championship and playoffs, and most likely, as I said, their most historic sporting event in the history of the state of Mississippi, a home playoff. And it didn't work out. And came back the next day, that's why there was a team meeting, whatever, it was 9, and thought it was going that direction. We met with the players. I was in there with Keith, and the players said, okay, let's do this. And I get it. I understand it, and it just couldn't wrap my head around doing that. And I understand it. And I respect that. So that's why everything took so long. So I did not know the final decision that we couldn't tell 30 minutes before that team meeting, when he called over and said, okay, we're gonna go a different direction. Can't wrap our heads around this. And, unfortunately, which again, I respect. And they said, you're not gonna be able to talk to the team and tell the team, that you're leaving. So I hate that. I hate that I didn't get to explain to the players why, but I also totally respect and understand the decisions they felt they had to make, for the program.
We'll go ahead and do the photo now.
Thanks, guys. Appreciate everybody coming.
Sit down. Mike.